The Division 1 lads kicked off their season in a grand final rematch against Waratahs on a Saturday afternoon. The Doggies bounced out of the blocks with 5 first quarter goals and maintained a firm influence on the game all day. Shane the Yorkie was best of field, racking up touches and crunching opponents all over the park, while Jackson Norton bagged 3 majors in his farewell game in the blue and white. Round 3 saw the seniors play the Wanderers at the G and thumped Wanderers to the tune of 103 points. Coach Lincoln Jenkin was well pleased with the 4-quarter performance and an even spread of goal kickers. Eric Creature Clanky was judged best of field after giving the midfield first use all day. Matthew Salter and Ben Grubb kicked 5 majors apiece in what was a dominant forward display from a tall and a small. In a highly anticipated game that was broadcast live over the internet and coincidentally was the most viewed game for the entire AFLNT season, the Banks Bulldogs took on new club Wadeye on at the Gardens. Banks had their work cut out for them for much of the afternoon and only slipped away in the final minutes of the match. Eric Clanky was again prominent in the ruck and won best of field for the second week. The goal kicking was evenly spread with a number of multiple scorers. It was a fiercely contested game that saw the Dogs show real grit and turned a 4-goal half-time deficit into a 15-point victory. Div1 played a rusty first half of footy against the Village Idiots before kicking into gear after the long break. 2-headed Tasmanian recruit Benny Grubb was best of field with another rock-solid performance through the midfield, while Anthony Davis and Andrew Diggins led the scoring with 3 goals apiece. In what was a lopsided game from the first bounce, Banks played a clinical game of football, sticking to the structures and working on some of the finer points against a poor Darwin outfit. Jake Hosking continued his rich vein of form with a best on-ground performance. Sean Fitzpatrick didn't venture too far from the goal square all day and seagulled a bag of 8 goals on the way to a monster 205-point win. After leading for much of the match, the Div 1 players were extremely disappointing, going down by 18 points. This loss would be the only defeat for the minor round season. The first half was played in good form with some key players out to set up a 28-point lead at half-time. The second half was very ordinary with a solitary goal scored and simply not enough contributors. Captain Ray Scarlett was one of a few 4-quarter performers and rightly judged best of field, whilst Matt Salter and Tom Clifton were the only multiple goal scorers. The A-grade were ruthless against long-time foe Pints. The Dogs were running hard, playing to team structures and converting opportunities in the forward line. The other 2-headed Tasmanian and younger brother Jake Grubb and Richie Baldock were all over the park collecting the footy, while Wolfie, Ned and Foddy all kicked 3 majors in another even spread from the forward line, running out winners by a handy 76 points. The A-grade were challenged for a half of football against an improving Nightcliff, eventually securing the win by 50 points. In what was a fast-paced game, the Dogs applied terrific endeavour at every contest around the ground and pressured the Tigers every time they went near the ball. Reigning league medalist Christopher Cates was back to his brilliant best with a best on-ground performance on the wing. Matt Salter was rewarded for a power of work over the past month with 3 majors. Saturday afternoon football at TIO Stadium provided another solid win for the Bulldog boys. The A-grade handed St Mary's a football lesson with an 84-point victory in hot conditions. The A-grade played a disciplined game of footy, sharing the ball around and running hard. Jake Hosking put in another stellar performance all over the park, kicking 2 goals and a best on ground. Anthony Davis booted 7 majors to lead all scorers. The Bulldogs stormed into the Christmas break on the back of a convincing 15-goal victory against Southern Districts to round out the first half of the season and retaining top spot on the ladder. The A-grade had the lunchtime kickoff on TIO 1 and didn't disappoint with an 88-point victory against the Toothless Crocs. A 6-goal-to-nothing first quarter set the scene, with Eric Creature Clanky the dominant player on the ground for the full 4 quarters. Liam Ogilvie Mitchell kicked 4 ripping goals, leading another even spread from the forward line. After the Christmas break, it was back into the serious stuff once again, with the A-grade too strong for Wanderers, winning by 88 points. The scoreboard didn't reflect the standard of the game, with the Dogs being made to work pretty hard for a half of footy in trying conditions. Shane Farrier was the main focal point in his return to the side with a best on-ground performance, and Benny Grubb helped himself to 4 goals. Round 13 was the highly anticipated Battle of the Gardens between Banks and Waratahs. It promised to be fiercely fought contest between the top two ranked teams in the competition. Well, the Banks boys didn't disappoint, smashing Waratahs to the tune of 124 points after scoring the first 7 goals of the game in the opening minutes. There were 22 winners across the park, and the game set the benchmark for the remainder of the season. Anthony Davis was untouchable with 9 majors and a best on-ground performance. The defensive actions of the back six, led by the cool guys Speed and Battersby, were commendable, conceding only 1 goal for the afternoon, which Nick Twelftree may as well kicked for them. The Sunday trek out to Fred's Pass threw up plenty of challenges as Southern Districts put up a great fight, pushing the Dogs right to the final siren. At a standard well below our best, the Dogs managed to stumble across the line and secured a tough 4-point win. Jake Hosking was a solid contributor and collected another best on, while Davo was the life of the party up forward with 4 goals. Saturday night under lights at TIO proved a struggle against the bottom-feeding Pint side. With a flurry of late quarter goals, the boys kicked away and won by 24 points in the end. Ben Grubb showed all of his wet weather Tasmanian skills for a best on ground. Anthony Davis bobbed up with another bag of 5 majors to lead all scorers. The Banks boys were ruthless over the weekend, fine-tuning the skills and readiness for finals. The A-grade belted Palmerston by 77 points and all but ended their chances of making the top 5. The boys never looked in trouble and were superbly led by Vice-Captain Richard Baldock, who racked up touches with ease. Anthony Davis kicked another bag of 5 sausage rolls, continuing to loom as the danger man up forward at the business end of the season. In the penultimate round of the home and away season, the seniors were tested for 4 quarters against a persistent Nightcliff, eventually coming away with a 15-point win. It was another top-of-the-table clash and it delivered a great contest. After trailing at halftime, the Doggies delivered a strong third quarter to be ahead at the final change. Superior fitness and application resulted in the victory. Richard Baldock continued to lead the charge in a very strong team effort, and Shane Ferrier kicked 3 majors. The final match of the season saw the Bulldogs pitted against the Village Idiots. The A-grade were never tested against an ordinary Tracy Village side with a 103-point drubbing. The ball moved swiftly across the park all day in nothing more than a glorified training session. Tim Wolfe booted 8 majors, Matthew Salted was back in the goals with 6, and Shane Bintang Leorki arrived back home from Bali in time to collect numerous touches and the best on-ground honours.